Hello everyone, this is In-Game Arts with a little boxing, the offline product game review. This is Glover for the PlayStation 5. To jump right into it, this physical copy here just claims it's just the base vanilla version of the game, so the on-disc version is 1.0.0. Now sadly there was an update available. This update size was 40 megabytes big and will take you to version 1.0.01 since the time making this video. Now like always, I play all my games completely offline with an unregistered account. Though I can't claim my experience was 100% flawless, it was a fairly decent experience from beginning and end, and as well, I was still unlocking trophies with my unregistered account, but please keep in mind there was a little bit of hiccup with the trophies. Now, I do want to point out, this physical copy of Glover was provided through Limited Run Games, so getting a copy may not be the easiest in the future. Now, this is my first time playing Glover. I remember the game way back in 1998, back on the Nintendo 64. A good friend of mine had a copy, and we could never really get into it. Come on, he had Mario 64, so we mostly played that. But this is my first time fully playing Glover, and this port version is alright. I want to point out some of my hindrances that some might find annoying. First off, this game runs at 30 frames per second. There is no changing this or fixing this, and I believe even the PC version runs at 30 frames per second. Why this is that apparently some people said they tried to unlock the frame rate and put it at 60 frames per second, and it apparently breaks the game or makes certain systems and activations and stuff like that not work properly, so the game is locked at 30 frames per second, so just keep that in mind. The next little bit of annoyance was that the camera control is inverted, so if you push right on the joystick, the camera spins left. If you push left, this camera spins right. And as well as if you zoom, like it's a button you press with triangle where you can look around, like zoom in with your eyes, this is inverted as well. If you push up, it goes down. If you push down, it goes up. So that was a little annoying. I didn't really find that interesting or good because I don't like inverted controls at all. And since this port version, there is no fix of the game. There's no setting to fix this. And other than that, I did have a dead enemy's bodies pile up where you get to kill these enemies, and they're kind of like sprite graphics, but every time you kill the enemy, they don't disappear. They leave a little sprite circle or object there, or eyes, and whatever the case may be. Even if you die, and the enemies respawn, wherever you killed that last enemy, sprite graphic is still sitting there. So you can keep piling up sprite graphics of dead enemies. I don't think this is how the game was meant to be, where they leave the corpses of the last enemy you killed, even if you died and restart from the last checkpoint. As well as that camera control can be very finicky in this game, where the camera does not go through objects. So if there's any object in your way and you try to spin the camera just completely gets blocked. And sometimes I had objects on the environment completely obscure the entire camera where I couldn't see a thing. Thankfully, this didn't happen too often, and once I learned that the camera cannot go through objects, it gets blocked by environmental pieces, I just started learning how to practice with that a little bit more. And thankfully, the game is an older game, so it doesn't got a whole lot of environmental objects around it, but it can still be a hindrance, and I can see it annoying some people. As well as that, oddly enough, there is this weird thing you can do if you push all the top buttons at the same time. It brings up a kind of like statistics board on the top left screen where it tells you how many frames have gone by, where the location from your axis to the X, Y, and Z position. I think one is indicated where the character is, and the other one indicates where the ball is at. What good is this feature? I'm not entirely sure, but it could be good in case you're trying to do a speed run, since it shows how many frames have been playing. You might be able to use that to prove that you're not like cheating or anything like that. So you can activate that. You can see the top left corner, and it'll show you how many frames have been going since that you've activated it. So I just want to let you know that. I did have one time where I got stuck, where I just had to restart the level. I went through a special portal, and apparently, I looked it up, you weren't supposed to be able to take the ball with you, but I was able to take the ball with me, and my character got stuck on a standing position on the ball, and the ball kept bouncing, and I kept bouncing on the ball, and I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. All I could do was spin the camera. So that was a little bit of a soft lock. I had to just restart the level and jump back into it again. And this time, don't take the ball with me. So just keep that in mind. As well as that, Nothing really wrong with sound effects, but there are some sound effects that are extremely annoying and really repetitive sounding. So keep that in mind in case you're very sensitive or really annoyed with sound effects. There are some really annoying sound effects and repeated sounds constantly. As well as I want to point out the game version on this physical copy. This port version is clearly based mostly of the Nintendo 64 version and not the PlayStation 1 version of the game, but this is not a one-to-one version of the Nintendo 64 version. There are some slight changes in both the assets and the environment, certain environment pieces, as well as the port version of the game has some aspects changed in terms of mechanically, so just keep that in mind. While it's strongly based on the Nintendo 64 version, it is not a one-to-one version of the Nintendo 64 version of the game. Just keep that in mind, so in case you're like wondering, like, I don't remember it working like this, or some of the details don't look as detailed as it was in Nintendo 64, that is because it is less detailed in certain environmental pieces as well as mechanics compared to the original game on Nintendo 64. I did have a trophy bug. I did unlock like 3 trophies in this game. Like, every time I unlocked a trophy, all the trophies completely stop unlocking. Once I closed out the game and rebooted back up, I would unlock another trophy. So there's clearly some bug issue. That's probably what this 40 megabyte update is fixing, probably. Where once you unlock a trophy, it like bugs out and you cannot unlock any other trophies. I 100% completed Glover. There's nothing else left for me to do. And I still got a bunch of trophies available. It just stopped unlocking trophies for me. So while some might find that infuriating, to me, I am not a trophies person. Sure, I would have loved to get trophies, but to me, it doesn't really affect the game. The game is still fully playable and enjoyable. Trophies are a nice little add-on, but it doesn't actually have any real effect to the actual game of the physical copy. So, to me, it doesn't affect any physical copy scores or anything like that. So just keep that in mind, because you got to remember, this game is also available on Nintendo Switch, and Nintendo Switch does not have trophies. So we can't base that off of just this physical copy. As well as that, I do got to give a seizure warning. There are a few levels where the game likes to flash a lot of lights and stuff like that at the screen. It's mostly like this like castle level where you're on top of these skyscraper almost thing of a castle, and it's like raining and thunder's flashing. This thunder is inconsistent, and it does it sometimes a lot and one time, and then it doesn't ever do it again. It's really weird, but the game flashes a lot of light at you, flickering, so keep a seizure warning when you get to that level. As well as that, I talked about how this is not a one-to-one version of the Nintendo 64 version of the game, mechanically. There is a lava level, which is a bonus level you get to unlock, but you can only play this if you play it on normal difficulty, which I don't understand that concept where, hey, if you play on easy difficulty, you can't play these levels. But regardless, there is a lava level in the Jurassic Park kind of section area where you got to roll your ball and pick up whatever these star cards are. I forget what they're called, but the original game, you're supposed to be able to just roll throughout the environment and pick up the star cards. But this port version, apparently they didn't realize that they tried to make the process easier where you didn't have to bounce your ball to pick up the ones that are floating. You just can roll under it and get it. But in this port version here, you have to bounce and jump to get all the cards. Why this is a problem in the bonus level, it's a speed run and you got like a lava chasing behind you. You basically have to be pixel perfect and perfect memorization of where you need to go and bouncing the ball at specific areas to be able to beat that lava bonus level. It took me about an hour to beat that one level just because of that little hindrance, because in the original game, you shouldn't have had to bounce your ball. But in this port version, it's actually harder. Now you have to bounce your ball to get these special star cards. It just makes it harder. It is beatable. I did do it. I beat it. Like I said, I 100% completed the game, but that was a struggle. And it clearly wasn't what the original developers intended when they released both the Nintendo 64 version and the PS1 version. So just keep that in mind that, like I said, some aspects are different from the original game. And that's about it. That's my entire experience of the game. But overall, did I enjoy the game? At first, I wasn't really having that fun because, again, it's at 30 frames per second. A game like this should be running at 60 frames per second, which, again, it didn't affect the game, but it was a little annoying since this is a precision platformer. But I got used to it, so it's not that big of a deal. But the overall flow of the game, the mechanics were a little wonky. But over time, I got used to it. And overall, I did enjoy myself. I didn't love this game. It didn't replace, like, became my new most favorite 3D platformer. But overall, I did enjoy the experience. After I got the hang of it, the overall mechanics, the overall flow, 100% of completing the game, it is a fairly decent 3D platformer. Clearly, though, this game is a, how do you say, a prototype version where basically they did like a experiment and they showed like, hey, we can make these hands and make this bouncy ball, and then some publishers like, hey, can we make a whole game of this mechanic? And because the ball mechanics and everything like that are so finely detailed and mechanically, but the environment pieces, while it does substitute fairly decently, it is so bare bones at moments that it feels like it's just tacked on to the mechanics of a hand and a bouncy ball. I just found that funny. It's clearly like some prototype that some developers made, and some publishers like, hey, let's make a game out of this. Which is fine. I mean, you got a game, and it's a fairly decent working game. I didn't really have no real big problems. I did have the game crash once, but that was after I completed the entire game. I 100% completed it, and I just went into the extras and went into the art section, and it just randomly crashed there. But then after I reboot the game back up and went back to the art, it didn't crash again. So that could have been just one random fluke the game crashed. But in the end, the game has some alright, decent music. The environment's okay, of course, is a little bare bones, and the overall flow of the game can be a little frustrating if you're not used to these kinds of games. And as well as I talked about, like the inverted controls in terms of the camera was a little annoying. But this is a bit easier experience because you got to remember this came out on Nintendo 64 and it only had one joystick. You probably had to hit the top buttons to rotate the camera, while this one, the right joystick fully works. You can just use the right joystick to spin the camera. There are plus sides and minus negative sides to this port version of the game, but it is fully working. I 100% completed it. I did have a good time. I thought it was an interesting experience. Not going to be my most favorite game on my PlayStation 5, but I thought it was a decent pickup from my shelf. So, in the end, I had fun. I did 100% complete it, and I can see some people coming back and enjoying this version of the game. Just keep in mind about those things I talked about, but the inverted controls, the troubles with the lava level, as well as the trophy bug. There's just some little issues, but the overall experience was enjoyable. So again, thank you all so much for watching. I will try to provide links in the description if you're instant copy. As I said though, keep in mind, this is from Limited Run Games, this physical copy, so getting a copy may not be the easiest in the future. So again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next unboxing video. Bye-bye!